It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
I mean, I had a school teacher called Mr. Bonnet, and when he had a son, our class voted that they should call the boy Rusty. Rusty Bonnet. Anyway.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Okay, so this is like take 3, because every time I start this podcast recording button, you look at me like I'm a weirdo.
A weirdo?
Yeah. I've been trying to just say hi.
You know, so many other podcasts I listen to just have the same intro every week.
Yeah.
But you want to change it up.
I don't mean to. I just open the mic and start talking. That's all it is. That's all it is.
You're just making life harder for yourself, reinventing the wheel every time.
I'm Justin.
I'm Kylie.
We are the parents of 6 daughters and a baby in utero. Will be a grandchild in September.
We got 2 fur dogs.
Oh, and yeah, okay.
Fur babies.
And we are excited to have you join us on the Happy Families podcast today. End of the week. I'm feeling relief. I'm feeling like I'm really looking forward to this weekend. This has been the quietest week that I've had in like 3 or 4 weeks now. I've been away so much and I've got stuff to talk about, and I'll do better tomorrow because I've been a present parent this week.
Well, I've got a lot to say about the quieter week, but I'm happy to hear what you have to say.
All right. So for those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome. Thank you for joining us. On Fridays, we get a little bit personal in this pod and talk about how we're going as parents, what we can do better, what we've done well, with a focus on doing better tomorrow. Just before we share our stories, I kind of feel like it's a bit of show and tell, really. There was something that popped up in the news this week, probably better for This Week in Parenting, the podcast episode that we do about that, but I just didn't want to wait. So I'm sharing it now. A British couple.
You're cheating. You can't do that.
A British couple had to fight to have their son named after the devil after a registrar tried to ban them from using it. This is from news.com.au.
Did they actually get it through?
The horrified official told them that their 4-month-old son wouldn't succeed in life. So 4 months old before they've come up with a name, decided to give this kid a satanic name. Wouldn't succeed in life, said the horrified official. Dan and Mandy Sheldon went to register the tot last week after the council office finally opened after lockdown. Furious Dan, aged 37, a plant hire company boss, lodged an official complaint over how he and Mandy, 32, were treated at their local office in Chesterfield, Derbyshire. He said, "We were really excited to go and get him registered, but the woman looked at us in utter disgust. She told us he would never be able to get a job and that teachers wouldn't want to teach him. I tried to explain that we're not religious people, and Lucifer, in Greek, means light bringer and morning, but she wouldn't listen. She even told us that it was illegal to name a child that in New Zealand, and that maybe we could name him something else, but refer to him as Lucifer at home." And I just thought, he's gobsmacked with the behaviour, and I'm just thinking there's actually some pretty good research around that shows that what you name your kids does have some impact on, or is associated with their future life outcomes. And I don't know, I mean, who wants to call their child Little Satan? Hey, come over here. Even if you're not religious.
Obviously for them, it doesn't have the same reference, but the reality is for the majority
the rest of
society, it does. And regardless of how great we try to live our lives and non-judgmental we are, first impressions.
Not everybody is.
Well, first impressions matter.
They do.
And a name really, for so many people, is the first impression. You haven't even seen his face, but you read his name on the page, and all of a sudden you've already made
Well, you kind of go, is
your
this a joke?
mind up about who this kid is.
Now, we are not into parent shaming. It's one thing that we really, really try to avoid. But what I want to do in this quick mention, and this we'll leave it here unless there's anything you want to add. I just want to encourage parents to be thoughtful about what you name your kids. And I know that actually, don't just be thoughtful. I'm sure they've been thoughtful about what to name their child. They even know what it means in Greek. And it actually is a really nice name in Greek when you think light bringer or morning or whatever it was. But like you said, Kylie, the broader society will judge your child based on that child's name. And there's good evidence that names that are unusual on resumes are less likely to get put on the top of the list. We know with good evidence that the way your child is named will have an impact on the quality of their relationships and their quality of life experience. And I just had to put it out there because I thought, seriously, do we need to, and apparently we do need to say it explicitly.
A handful of years ago, I was introduced to a lady. Her name's Sarah. And as we got talking...
That's not that spooky.
It's not. As we got talking, she started kind of sharing some of her life experiences. And somewhere along the conversation, she shared that her last name was Moni, which is, again, not a particularly...
I got it. Ceremony. ceremony.
And
I love it.
she's such an amazing person because she acknowledged her parents had a ridiculously great sense of humour and she has laughed about it her whole life. But other kids would have really given her a hard time as a young kid. And it's just lucky that she has a great outlook on the way things are.
That was pretty safe as well. I mean, I had a school teacher called Mr. Bonnet, and when he had a son, our class voted that they should call the boy Rusty. Rusty Bonnet. Anyway, today's I'll Do Better Tomorrow, now that we've gotten that off our chests, is about how we can do better or what we've done well. And you know what, Kylie? I'm going to just jump straight in with mine and then you can share yours in a sec. I'm going to say I nailed it this week.
Really? Well, after the 3 weeks you've been away,
so much.
It's about time.
I've been traveling a lot. There's been a lot of work happening, but it's been a real treat. Last Saturday, so 6 days ago now, we were in Brisbane for the Resilient Kids Conference. There's me, Karen Young from Hey Sigmund, Maggie Dent, and Michelle Mitchell. Wonderful, wonderful conversations about resilience all day long. There was like 800 parents in the room. I took a whole bunch of boxes of books to provide resources to families who wanted to pick up any of those. And I had the absolute delight of hanging out with our 19-year-old daughter, Ella, for the day. I asked her if she could come and help sort of run the credit card machine while I talked to people and signed books and answered questions and tried to be generally useful. And there was a break at one point during the day where there weren't any people at the table. They were all inside listening to a talk that I'd already heard the previous fortnight when we were in Launceston. And Ella and I just got to go for a walk, sit under the tree, look up at the sky and talk about life. And it doesn't matter whether your child's 9 or 19 or even 3 or 4, just having that experience, or even 1 or 2, having that experience, going for a walk around with my daughter and spending the day with her and then jumping in the car and driving home and having her mock my driving because now she reckons she drives a manual better than me. All of that stuff. It was just so nice. And I wanted to highlight the importance. I mean, I say this all the time. Dollars are the currency of our economy. Connection is the currency of our relationships. And feeling that connection, helping her to feel seen, heard, and valued. It was genuinely a highlight of the week.
It's interesting, as we've gone through the last few months with all of the angst that she's been experiencing as she's been trying to work out what she wants to do with her life. And
Drop out of uni and all of those kinds of things. It's been interesting to watch how she's been navigating it, and in the process has actually kind of pulled away from us quite a bit. There hasn't been necessarily any tension there, but we just haven't been included like we usually are. But you spent that day with her, and I literally lay in bed with you a few days later and I said, I feel like we've got our old Ella back. Yeah. Like she's just, her countenance has changed, and it's interesting that she's made decisions that fit where she's at right now, and she's felt like she's had the autonomy to do it, and then being able to reconnect with you specifically in a really, personal way has just lifted her. And it's so beautiful to see. As a quick tangent to this, just a reminder for parents as well, can I be really encouraging for parents to not control your kids? I mean, I've always been an advocate of a gap year. But she really wanted to go. She was absolutely certain that she wanted to study property economics and architecture, even though she has no interest in maths, economics. She's never shown an inkling of interest in it before. And it really was hard for her, and she didn't.
But I think often our
it.
kids are making decisions based on what they think is the right decision.
Yeah.
As she talked to people obviously acknowledged that architecture was great, but if she married it up with property economics, it would just put her in such a better
It was a disastrous position. But even though it was a terrible decision, it hasn't been a bad thing in her life. She's experienced university life. She's got her head around what happens at uni, and she'll be ready when or if, but presumably when she chooses to go back in a couple of years' time. What also really struck me, though, and the main point that I wanted to make here, is she's 19. She actually has no idea what she wants to do with the rest of her life. I was at a talk at Ormiston College last week, and a demographer from McCrintle Research was there talking about the number of jobs and the number of careers that the average person has in their lives now and what the projections are for the future. Most of us are not doing today what we thought we'd be doing when we left high school. The world changes, our lives change, and we just put so much pressure on our kids. And I've really enjoyed watching her come to this realization that she has no idea what she wants to do. And so at the moment, she's applying for jobs. She's applying for some apprenticeships. She knows she doesn't want to do them long term, but she just wants to try stuff. And so long as she's being productive, she's growing and she's learning, that's all that really matters. She'll figure it out. And that was the delightful thing about the conversation, just taking the pressure off and seeing that she really wants to grow. She really wants to learn. She really wants to be productive. And she has no idea where to go. So she might become a florist, or she might become a baker, or she might become a hairdresser, or she could do any number of things. Or she might end up doing something for a year or two and saying, I've learned a lot, but I don't want to do that. And now I'm ready to go back to uni. And any of that is fine, so long as she's productive and she's finding meaning and purpose and fulfillment. That was my I'll Do Better tomorrow. And I really enjoyed it. What about you? Oh, actually, before we dive into yours, I've also got to mention that parents, be mindful. This is a conversation about the tooth fairy. So you might need to press pause. We had our 9-year-old, our youngest, the only one who still has baby teeth, lose a tooth. And she wrote a note to the tooth fairy saying that because it's been such a long time since she lost a tooth and because it hurts so much and because she's been so uncomfortable, maybe as a special treat, because she doesn't have too many teeth left to lose, the tooth fairy might leave. And then she specified in her letter, $20. $20? Yeah.
Do you know how much money I got from the tooth fairy when I was her age?
Probably 20 cents or 50 cents.
Yes.
Yeah. So I read it at like 10 o'clock at night or whatever. And I just cracked up, and she's drawn a picture for the tooth fairy and promised another one if she gets $20. And it was just this beautiful note. And I thought I could just leave it $2, which is what I was going to.
Well, I think I did I not?
No, there was no $2 coin there. Did you leave a $2 coin there?
I left 3.
I didn't see it. I just thought she's going to wake up, and if she's got $20, she's going to remember this for the rest of her life. Like, it's going to make a day. It's going to become a core memory about tooth fairies and tooth losing and all that sort of stuff. So I dropped a 20. I dropped a $20. So
The tooth fairy must have been feeling super abundant.
You got $23
this week. Oh my goodness.
I can't believe I didn't see your $3. You're so good. Anyway, what's your I'll Do Better tomorrow?
Well, mine's probably a little bit more boring after the things that you've shared today. It's really just about resetting and perspective.
Okay.
So our daughter's been married now for 4 years.
4 years this month, yeah.
And she will often come and visit us, and she gets a little bit frustrated because she just wants me to drop everything so that I can be 100% focused on her.
Yeah, isn't it funny? She walks into the house and she's like, why are you doing stuff? I'm here. Visit with me.
And you know what? In my heart of hearts, I really want to, and I do everything I can to make that possible. But inevitably, what was going to be, a 1 or 2 hour visit turns into 3 or 4. And I've got to pick the kids up from school, or somebody, rings and they need my help with something, or you ring and you've got,
or we've got a podcast to record, or dinner's got to be made, whatever.
And so what will usually happen is she'll get involved because she can see that there's some gaps and there's some places where she can help, but she's not happy about it. She really kind of, is a bit disgruntled that she's here to visit me and it should be all fun and games, but she doesn't live here, so she shouldn't have to help out why her sister's not doing X, Y, and Z. But last week, she actually ended up staying with us. You were away, and Jared was away as well. And
Jared's her husband, for those of you who are not familiar.
And so she didn't want to be on her own. So she said, Mum, can I come and stay with you? And I said, great. And what blew me away was just the shift in her mentality, because as she's lived closer to us over the last few months, she's actually recognised that I'm not just sitting on my bum, twiddling my thumbs, waiting.
We got stuff going on.
And so every time she shows up and she just sees me kind of pretty much with my joggers on running at full tilt, she's really starting to see that life is busy. And so while she was with us, she was fantastic. She sat down and she made out a meal plan and she said, Mum, can you just check these meals? Are you happy with these? And I said, yeah, they look great. And she said, well, why don't I take care of dinner this week? I said, or if you can just put the shopping list together of all the things that you need. When I do the stropping tomorrow, I'll get everything that you need for dinners. And it was just great to kind of be in this place where for the first time she was actually recognizing and seeing just how busy I am on a day-to-day basis, and that she could do something to lighten the load, and that actually made her feel good.
Yeah, I'm going to just say here though, hashtag parenting goals, right? This is what every parent, as they're dealing with the 8-year-old who won't pick a thing up, or the 15-year-old is going, you mean your daughter came over and cooked meals for you for the week? Like, how do I get there?
But what was crazy was at the end of the week, she was absolutely exhausted. She's halfway through her pregnancy, and it was a big deal. Like, she worked really hard beside me, but I worked just as hard, if not harder. And at the end of the week, she kind of looked at me and went, I can't believe you do this. And the reality is we split the jobs, right?
But that's the moment. That's the eureka moment. The kids are like, wow, you've done that for the last 20 years for me.
She was exhausted. I was exhausted. But normally I have to wear the brunt of that entire load that two people shared.
I help.
Of course you do. But I'm just saying what she was doing. So I know that was probably a bit long-winded, but the reality is what I experienced as I went through that was just how important our perspective is in the way we see things. And so there's been so many little things that have happened through the week where I've kind of gone to get cranky at them. But as I've stepped back and kind of tried to see things from a different perspective, I've recognized the limitations or the burdens or the challenges that are in place that are actually creating the storm in the teacup. And so this week, with you now back, we actually sat down for the first time. I can't remember the last time that we sat down and did it.
That weekly meeting that we say that we always do, we haven't done for a couple of months because we've had so much going on.
Yeah. And a few weeks ago on our episode This Week in Parenting, we talked about a divorce lawyer's perspective on what was going on. And it kind of just... It was a bit of an uppercut again. Just, you know what? We don't do this enough. We actually need to sit down and plan out our week.
Get on the same page.
Get on the same page. And so it was just so nice to be able to have a few hours to sit down with you Sunday morning and talk about our week, have a look where things were at, and look at that big list that Chanel and I split up, but Chanel's not here anymore to help, and how we could just alleviate the pressure for both of us so that we have a smooth running week. And I think we've done a pretty good job.
Made a difference hugely. Well, we need to wrap this up. Just before we do, I love what you've said about how there's a developmental reality. No matter how hard you try, your children, whether they're 2 or 12 or 18 or even 22, your children are probably not going to look at you and say, hey, mum or dad, gee, I appreciate everything you do for me. And even if they do, they don't really get it. What I love most about your story is that at some point, all of us do kind of get what our parents did for us, and we have the opportunity to express that. And if you haven't told your parents, go and do it, because you've had the experience this week of what it feels like when you as a parent get told that by a child. We still have plenty more kids that have got to have that awakening, but gee, it feels good, doesn't it? Like, yeah, you're seeing what I did. You're seeing what I did.
I think the only other thing that came out of it was just a recognition that if you feel like your to-do list is just overwhelming, it's okay to drop a few things off it. Every now and again, if 2 people are exhausted doing one person's list, then there's only one of you, you can't possibly keep up the race day in, day out. And I think it's just really important to remember that you're only one person. Be kind to yourself. Do the things that have to be done and let go of some of the things that don't need to be done.
Hope there's some inspo in that for you. Have a great weekend. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. For more information about making your family happier, we are at happyfamilies.com.au and on Facebook, Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families.